Greetings, magnificent souls, to the Lily Bewley podcast, where we have open and honest discussions about ourselves. This is your host, Lily Bewley, and I'm honored to have conversations here with thought leaders, visionaries, healers, and even solo conversations with myself about things I am currently reflecting on. This is a place where we break down, break away, and break through our emotional trauma, allowing ourselves to be healthy, be happy, and live a peaceful life. We are tired of being sick and tired. We are tired, but we are not giving up. We know that there is something magnificent inside of us. And because we are fighting daily, hourly, and by the minute, fighting ourselves, our kids, our spouses, we have to do things differently. We have to break the cycle. We don't have a million chances. We have to be happy now. We have to find a way. So how do we do that? How is that possible? If you look around at what society is telling you, they tell you that what we're doing is impossible. Yet it's happening every single day. And it's happening through the practice and the love that we call awakening the magnificent soul. We are all magnificent souls, and these are our stories of healing. Today in episode 113, I welcome Erin Claire Jones to the show to chat about human design. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts about this episode or anything you would like me to cover on future podcasts at epiphanyvault.com. Remember, it is a safe place and I would welcome the discussion. Also, a request, if you are enjoying the show, please rate and share and review so we can get the word out to more and more magnificent souls who want to heal. My guest today, Erin Claire Jones, uses human design to help thousands of individuals and companies step into their work and their lives as their truest selves and to their highest potential. Her work as a guide, a coach, and a speaker has attracted a growing community of over 140,000 people who turn to her teachings for practical tools, digestible tips, and deeper self-knowledge that they can access to live with greater ease and authenticity every day. She's been featured in Forbes, mindbodygreen, Well&Good, and Nylon, and on over 150 podcasts. Please enjoy this conversation with Erin Claire Jones. Erin, my friend, I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so excited to talk about human design. It's your account is blowing up. It's blowing up everywhere. I'm sure you've been doing this for a while, so I can't wait for you to get just really deep into that conversation with us here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, here, let's start from the get. What is human design? And I feel like you probably don't feel like this, but I feel like it's showing up everywhere now. You've probably been in the game for a minute. So I'd love for you to just kind of put this out there to get started. What is human design and what does it mean to you?
So, human design is a system based on your time, date, and place of birth that reveals your energetic blueprint and how you're wired to thrive. And what I mean by that is how you're meant to work and make decisions and parent and partner and collaborate and all the things. It gives us each kind of our own unique roadmap to finding flow. I feel like so often we try to emulate the path of those around us, and it doesn't work for us because we're different. And I think human design reminds us how we are each really, really different and how to really honor that in our lives. And it's so specific, there are 5 different types, but every design is so unique. And so it really is such a beautiful way to really reveal our uniqueness.
Oh, yeah. So much what you just said is really interesting, right? Because that emulation piece for me and my journey, and without even knowing, about human design, and it's, what I teach too is just that. Like, we actually can have our own paths. Like, oh, is that crazy? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that it's really, I worked with so many clients that have like taken marketing or business courses or whatever. And like, they're frustrated when like a strategy doesn't work for them. And it's often not that the strategy is wrong. It's just that it's not the one for them, And so like, I think sometimes we're like, oh, it worked for us. Like, won't it work for everyone else? And like, we're all really different, And so I think it's really nice to have the language of human design to kind of really be able to really like tease apart what those differences are and how to work with them.
Yeah, 100%. It's so important too. And it's like, I feel like it's a thing that's not talked about a lot too, because, there's a lot. And I talked about this on a solo episode I did a couple of weeks ago, but there's so much growth right now, I think, in the personal development space, which is amazing. And it's like that messy middle between like wanting something and desiring something, and then, getting a guide or a coach or something like that. And that path, like we can still have our own paths. And it's just really hard because like to find the path and everything else. So it's amazing that there's a tool like this out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that, and it's so useful, like not only in terms of like entrepreneurship and building our careers and businesses in a way that feels aligned, but like also in relationships, whether
Mhm.
you are working with people or partnering romantically with people or parenting people, or parenting kids, like it's just a good reminder that like it's not expecting others to be like you, and like really taking the
Mhm.
time to be like, how does this person operate and how can I really honor them and support them in that?
Mm. Well, girl, you just hit on the last thing that I healed when I came to my aligned relationships. So let's just put that there. Um,
Mm.
so tell me about this state of flow. I'm interested, like, what does that mean to you? Because it sounds like you said, human design kind of attributes to this way of making our own path, this way of finding out maybe who we are. What is this beautiful state of flow that you're talking about?
I think like it'll look different for everyone, but I think when I talk about flow is like it's just that you feel really aligned. Like it's not like where it's all going because none of us do,
Mm.
but it's more that you're just like I'm working in a way that feels good and with people that feel amazing and I like in partnership that I want if I want that, it's just like it just feels like the things you're choosing are so aligned and you're not trying to like overly control or hold on to any of it. I think the opposite of it is resistance. It's like you see all the things you desire, but like getting there feels really hard.
Mhm.
And I think like I've even talked to so many entrepreneurs that have like actually found like a lot of success financially if we're defining it that way, and but the path to get there was so challenging
Yes.
and they're like entirely burnt out, once they've arrived. And so like I think human design like not only helps us find like abundance and success in our lives, but like we really learn how to do things in a way that actually feels sustainable and good. And
Yes.
so like on the way there, not just so that we arrive there. And so I think flow to me just feels like such alignment. And again, I just want to remind people that's not about knowing where it's going to take you. It's just being like
Mhm.
even with me, it's like I love what I'm doing. The business has been amazing. It's been growing like so beautifully. And also like I don't know where I'll be in 2 years or 5 years. Like I
Mhm.
might do like a hard left where I'm like human design bye, who knows? But like I think that like human design really helps us know like how to really assess what's aligned for us and how to really trust that, even
Yeah.
when it's scary.
Yeah. I love that you say that point out about not knowing where it's going.
Yeah.
Because I say that a lot too. And that's been a personal theme for me. It's like, and I say this with a little asterisk because it's not as easy as this, but like letting go of control, you see that a lot. And sometimes it's just not that easy. So I'm sure, like, I talk a lot about nervous system regulation in the sense of dating and relationships, but I'm sure it's very similar to what you do. It's like I think I forgot what the word is on my chart, which is what is it? Not self theme. I'm probably looking at a
Yeah.
different chart than
Yeah.
you are, but well, it's frustration. And yes, girl, that is, if I like if I can't control or if I don't know what's going to happen, that is definitely my go-to. So I think, yeah,
Mm.
thank you for pointing that out. That's amazing.
Yeah, of course. It's
Yeah.
just like it's really nice to know all the ways that we can get taken off track in our design, just because I find
Mhm.
the more we become aware of them, the quicker we're able to move out of them once they come,
So
you
much.
know, so much
Yeah.
where I'm just like, it happens to me all the time. And I'm like, oh, I see exactly what's happening,
Yes.
And so I think it's just like, it's such human design serves so many tools, but I would say one of the greatest is very much in like moving us from resistance and into flow.
I love that. I have an interesting question. So is it just me or is human design kind of blowing up right now? Like, how long have you been doing this? Give me a
Yeah.
little background.
It's definitely blowing up. I'd say it's been like progressively blowing up since 2018. And now I'm like, I don't even know, but I think that I've been doing it since 2015.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um, and I started my first business around human design in 2015. And I was like, this system is amazing. There's like so much gold in here. Like, oh my God, the world needs to know that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And also like I was really trying to deliver it to the world at a time when like no one seemed to care about it.
Mm.
So it was like a really confrontational thing to be like, but I know this is amazing. And why does no one see that yet? And so I actually walked away from human design in 2017 because I was like, I can't force people being ready. Like I can prepare myself for their readiness as much as possible. I can do whatever I can to like master and learn and teach and
Mm-hmm.
translate. But like unless they're ready, like it's not time. And then I launched my practice again in early 2018. And that was kind of when things started to um, just like started to grow. And I feel like it's just becoming more and more part of like the mainstream. But even when I say that, like it's blown up in like the mystical personal development circles. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
still
That's
so
true.
much more blowing up for to
That's
do.
true.
Like I always say it's like blowing up my partner's like in your circles, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like but yes, I think that it's like it's grown so tremendously in the past 4 years. And I just think we're just at the beginning. And I would attribute some of that to people's just readiness. You know, I think people are like, I want to learn about myself, tell me anything. But I
Mm-hmm.
also think that there's a number of people, me being one of them, and there are many people that are just like translating human design in a way that makes it more accessible and makes it more empowering and makes it more actionable. And so I think that it's now being delivered in a language and that it's like a bit more accessible than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. That actually hits a lot of points with me, what's going on with my business. I'm not giving up,
Yeah.
hopefully, but it's like it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's like I do sometimes feel like I'm a little bit before my time, and this is like
Yes.
not in a bragging way, but just in a way of just
Totally.
and yeah, I think you're right too about being in different circles. But I know the listeners have probably heard about
Yeah.
human design too. So honored to have you here, really.
Yeah.
What Here's an interesting question. So the reason I asked that, it was kind of a segue into what human design isn't, because I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
like, because all of this is coming into knowledge and so many people are picking up, I'm wondering if there's maybe mixed messages that you're seeing, or things that maybe are a little bit off from your perspective about the way that people are presenting human design. Have you seen any of that? Curious.
Totally. I have seen a lot of it. And I also try to like steer clear of it, you know, because like I like don't really see my role being like, I'm gonna take down all these
Yeah.
people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think that like I really just remind people like be so discerning. And just in terms of like what you're taking in with human design and any other system, I think some of the things that I see, well, one, human design is not predictive, but I don't really see many human design people pretending that it is.
Interesting.
Um, I think where like I see human design being delivered in a way that I don't think is at its best is that like human design is a tool and it's meant to be like a really empowering one. And so like when people say that like you're a generator and can't do this, or you're a projector and you can't do this, which honestly some of that stuff like came from the founder of human design because that was his lens. Like it's just not the way that I don't believe human design is meant to be used. I
Mm,
think like human design doesn't tell us what we can do. It just lets us know how we can do that thing best. And so whenever it's being delivered in this kind of like more disempowering or limiting language, like I just don't think it's useful. And I think it's actually very limiting.
interesting.
And so I think that like I think human design is meant to be like a super empowering, expansive, and supportive tool. And like if it feels like anything but that, like I would let it go, you know?
Mm,
So that would be one piece. And also, like, as you can imagine with any system that's kind of blowing up, is that like there's just some information out there that's just like quite simply not true. And so like, you know, and also like I there's no real way to navigate that. I think people have to really trust it. If it feels good to them, amazing.
mhm.
I think most people now haven't gone down a very traditional education path, so they haven't had access to some of that stuff. So um I'm just kind of like, people have to do them. And I love that. And I just want to remind people to just be discerning about their resources. And the most important one is to really take in people that feel empowering to them, you know, and
Mm,
that make them feel good about who they are and not limited by their design in any way.
got you. So in a way, from what I'm hearing in my translation in my brain, it's like in a way, it's that same idea of like, um, this emulation, this is the path that you have to take, because you're a Lily, you're a generator, whatever, this is only what you're supposed to be doing. But what you're saying, like the way I hear it is, it's like, it's almost like a dial, like human design, like helps you dial up, whatever you're doing. It helps you maybe design your life, or design your experiences, or design the people that you're around, or the support that you have, or whatever it is. Or like, even like, I talk a lot about boundaries, like how, I think the thing with generators, I think one of the things that has helped me is like, I need a yes or no type of question. That is like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's so helpful. Now,
Yeah.
the people that I ask that for, like, my parents, for example, sometimes that doesn't work so well because they can't
Yeah.
comply, but it's empowering to kind of know, oh, like that makes sense. Like I really do need like a yes or no type of of questions so that I can discern really quickly. Or if I don't, I can ask for time. But I just loved what you said
Yeah. Yeah.
about, yeah, go ahead.
No, I think you said it great there. It's just like it's not like a thing where it's like, okay, like you're a generator and you can't be an entrepreneur. It's like you're
Mm,
a generator and like this is how entrepreneurship might work best for you, you know?
mm,
And it's probably different than for that person, you know? And so like I think that so yeah, I think that like again, I think that honestly, all of these systems are opportunities for us to connect more deeply to ourselves and really trust ourselves. And that's what I love about human design is that as much as like I can offer all this information about how you work best, like only you will know like what the next step is. You know,
mm,
I can't tell you that like you should move here, or like I can hear you talk and it becomes pretty clear, but
mm,
only because like I'm hearing your truth, you know? So I think it returns us to ourselves. And I think also it's a good reminder for anyone that like when we share a system, like it's through our lens. And so if we have like a very limited lens or whatever, then like that's going to come out through the stuff we share, which
yeah.
is why it's just being really discerning about the people that you take it in, because none of us are for everyone. And so just making sure the resources you find are really the right ones for you.
Mm. That's a good segue maybe into how, like, so is it a discernment type of thing? I don't know. I didn't really prepare anything like this, but it's just coming up. Um, like how would someone discern whether, is it just like a gut feeling type of thing? Is that what you're thinking? Or is it like, should they have a certain amount of training, or I don't know, what does that look like? Or
You
how would
mean
you advise someone?
you
Like
mean
to,
discerning who to listen to?
yeah, like who to choose, I guess, in the human design space, because I have no idea.
Yeah.
Hard, right? Putting you on the
Yeah.
spot. You don't have to answer
No,
that. It
and
just
and
came up.
also you can't like, it's what I would say is just like choose them based on like how it makes you feel.
Yeah,
Like we all have
that
a
makes
thing in
sense.
our yeah, we all have a thing in our design called our inner authority, which is how we best make decisions. And so if you're being guided by that, whether it's your gut or talking things out or your intuition, like trust that. Like I'll have so many people be like, okay, what was your path to, getting certified and teaching human design? And like I always remind people like I'll share my path and it just probably isn't the right one for you. And like it was also one that started on 8 years ago and it probably would look
Mhm,
really different had I started now,
mhm.
and so it's just like a good reminder where it's like I can present the things that I do and also like really trust your path. Like it's like the wild wild west right now. Like there's not,
Yeah,
a one certifying board, so I think that it's all an opportunity. Like how does this make me feel, and does this person and does this education, does this feel right for me?
yeah. Okay, I thought you were going to say something like that, but I thought that was
Yeah,
maybe important too. So thank you for sharing
yeah,
that.
of
I think that's
course.
just like, again, like I've been talking a lot openly about my experience with the whole like just coaching industry in general, and I think we line up on values with that. Is that like does that person feel safe? Like are they trying to
Yeah,
fit you into a box, or all of that stuff? So that's, yeah, and I think it's important to talk about.
totally.
Um, something that you wrote, um, that I saw somewhere, I don't remember, with about human design. It doesn't change who you are. It teaches you who you are. Um, I don't know if this is something that we already covered, but I just thought that was so just beautifully eloquent, but very simple. Um, so I don't know if you want to talk about that if we haven't covered anything that we already have, but and why are people blocked about who, like teaching them who you are? Like, why do I need to be taught who I am? I think I know, but like I don't know, like why are we not? And how does it help?
Yeah, I think like the idea is that human design like isn't meant to just like be this thing where it's like I've got to change everything. It often just gives you permission to be the things you've always wanted to be. But I think,
I love
but also with that said, so rarely have we given ourselves that permission. Like I just can't tell you how often I sit with people and like they're like, Erin, I recognize what you're saying so deeply. Like that is like the most resonant thing I've ever heard. And also like I never thought that was allowed. Like I kind of like talked myself out of that, those being my strengths, or thinking that like that was an okay to build a business, okay way to build a business. So like I think that it just like I think what I love so much about human design is the familiarity. Like it's like I just don't tell people anything new. I just give them a language for their like operating system and experience where they're like, oh, that's why all these
that.
things haven't worked, and that's why all these things have, and now I like really feel empowered to pursue it in a way that feels good to me. In terms of why
Yeah.
people are blocked, like we just get so conditioned. Like I just feel like we so often express our design, and it obviously depends so much on our childhood, but we tend to express our design so purely when we're young. And then we kind of get conditioned out of it and feel like we're meant to be a
Mm,
different thing.
yep.
And then we like discover human design or whatever. We just go through our own journey and kind of return to ourselves with time. But I think human design is such a great way to kind of keep people connected to who they are and kind of their roots from the very beginning.
Ooh, I love that. And that I've actually, without, I'm super interested in, how that would apply to me, because I think that I've come to that stage right now, especially with my expression, my relationships, all the important things, my relationship with my body, my relationship with my business and making money, is that exactly what you just said, is like there's a deep part of me that is loving, caring, and kind, but has been conditioned out of me like that's not enough, or you can't make money, or all that stuff. And um yeah, it's just very validating for me, because it's something that I like really try 80% of the time, give myself a little leeway, but 80% of the time to really filter my whole life based off that, like loving, caring, and kind to others, loving, caring, kind to myself, all of
Mhm.
that stuff. So thank you for that
Yeah.
validation.
Yeah. It's so simple and it
Yeah.
can feel like, do we really need that? And I just think we often do. Like, I feel like there's a day in the future where like, we don't need human design. Like we're just living as ourselves and we're
Yeah.
perfect. But I
Yeah.
don't think we're there quite yet, And
Yeah.
I think that like, and I also will say that like people that have done a lot of work on themselves and they feel super aligned, like it's still really useful for them to hear their human design because they feel so validated. They're
Mm,
just like, God, I've learned all these lessons and I'm so proud of myself. Like I'm so proud of like me identifying the right path for me. And also they have a new language to even communicate about it to other people. So
mhm.
whether you feel in resistance or whether you feel in flow, it's just like so nice to have that framework to be like, this is exactly how I operate. And like, thank God
Mm,
I discovered it, but now I have even more tools to step into it.
yeah. Oh, Dorky Lily is coming out in my head right now, because I'm like, oh, there has got to be a study maybe in 5 or 7 years about neuroscience, connecting neuroscience with human design. I don't know. That just popped in my head. So I'm going to honor it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's not going to be me, but whoever does it, you're amazing.
Yeah. I love it. Yes. I wish there was more. I'd be so curious to kind of
Yeah,
see, but
I'm sure there will be eventually. Um, So one thing, I think maybe because we have time, if you're open to like going through my chart, I think that would be maybe
sure.
beneficial for the listeners, just to kind of see how that would work. But I'm curious on this. I've seen different like types of charts out there. They give like
Yeah.
different, I don't even know. I don't have all of the terminology, but they like maybe little subtle differences here and there. Do you use your own chart, or like how does that work? Have you seen that too? Obviously, I'm sure you have, but like what is that? What's the discrepancy?
The charts generally don't change, but the language to describe it can change.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes like the names are different. We did build our own algorithm and like this stuff gets so like gnarly, but like there was also like in some of the traditional algorithms, like before 1966, like I believe like savings wasn't actually taken into account.
Got
Or
you.
the, and so it was like everything was kind of shifted in an hour. So the algorithm we built, we kind of like worked in for that, in terms of
Wow.
reflecting how it shifted. So sometimes if people are born before 1966, things can shift a little bit. Um, but in general, like the chart should really look the same. It's like a total anomaly if it doesn't. It's
Got you.
more around whether the language is the same, but like the language will be equivalent. They might just use different words. And I like have translated a lot of things, which I know can be annoying at times, but just because some of the traditional language isn't very intuitive.
Got you.
So,
Interesting.
and there is a whole nother like movement around human design of like using different calculations, which will change your chart entirely. That's like a little bit more, I wouldn't recommend digging into that because that's a whole different, rabbit hole.
Mm.
But in general, the chart is going to stay the same. It's really just like the language used to describe it. Is that what you're seeing
Yeah,
that you're
that makes,
thinking like the words
yeah,
are
I
different?
wish I had an example and I don't, but I do
Yeah.
remember, like, I think I pulled it maybe two or three in the last couple of years, and like maybe it was just subtle things,
Yeah.
um that, this is me, but it's like the translation for me was like, this, it feels a little weird because it's not coming up the same. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I thought that maybe was maybe
Should
important.
definitely be the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was maybe like little nuances maybe that may have
Totally.
not been important. So yeah.
Yeah. No, and I know it can be confusing. I think it's nice to translate it to make it more accessible. And also like, it can be confusing if they're like, I'm this on this chart and this, and I'm like, they're the same, but I know
Yeah.
it's not always immediately intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the value of someone like you? is to work like one-on-one with someone, and like, how do you support someone if they are really trying to understand more about who they are based off of their human design chart?
Yeah, I mean, I think human design, if you look up your chart, it's not this like accessible, intuitive, easily readable thing. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to look at the chart and you're like, oh, I get it, So like you do need, and the same with
It's
astrology,
pretty
like
confusing. Yeah.
you need a translator, And
Yes.
so I think what I really discovered is like I love teaching human design and like teaching all the details, but I think what I really learned is that most people don't want to learn human design. They want to know like what they need to know about their design to live their most aligned
Mm-hmm.
life. And so I think that all of our offerings are around that. It's like, how can I give you all the information you need to know about your unique design to find more flow in your life? And so the primary one is like we create these written books for people, kind of digital guides all about their unique design. I sit with people, I offer workshops, but it's all through the lens of like what you need to know about your unique design to actually kind of like translate it and really like apply it in your life.
Mm,
And I think that like that's obviously really nice information for people to have.
yeah. Well, speaking of, do you want to segue into what that looks like, and I can be a
Sure.
guinea pig for you?
Sure. So in human design, there are 5 different types: generators, manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. And if you don't yet know your type, you can look it up at humandesignblueprint.com. And so Lily's a generator. And so basically what that means is that you have all this energy to kind of like build and create and make things happen
Mm,
when you are really lit up and satisfied by what you're doing.
mm,
And so, I know you mentioned boundaries. I would say 2 of your biggest lessons are around prioritizing your own enthusiasm and excitement. Like when you're lit up, everyone benefits. And also around boundaries.
mm,
Like I think that people might sense that you have capacity for a lot of things, but
mm,
like unless you're genuinely lit up by the thing, like no one really benefits. So just like really only saying, I mean, I don't want to say no one benefits, like
mm,
they won't get all of you in the ways that
mm,
you can bring to the table. So like I would say like you being a full-bodied yes and prioritizing your enthusiasm is the best thing you can do for the world. And I
mm,
would say in general for generators, like you're meant to wake up in the morning energized and excited, kind of use up your energy throughout the day in ways that feel really satisfying, and like drop into bed exhausted and fulfilled.
mm.
How does that feel to you? Do you resonate
Oh,
with that?
yeah, 100%. It's just so interesting because, like, as you're saying that, it's like man, I don't even know. It's like, um, I think right now, specifically, like as I'm sitting here talking to you today, I think I definitely have found that flow. Um, the hard thing for me now is, and I'm just being, like I'm really transparent, obviously, here in this space. I think the hard thing for me now is knowing what lights me up, and then also still having to do the things that don't light me up is difficult. And like, there's a balance. Like, this is my story, y'all, so this is what I'm saying, but like what you're saying is absolutely true. Like the yes and no, um gut feeling, I was completely detached from, before I, like, did a lot of healing work and healed a lot of my traumas, because it was my trauma that was making decisions instead of myself. That's what I like to say in dating. But yeah, totally, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I would say that like, um, the goal is not to be like 100% lit up by everything that you're doing,
Yeah.
but to like have it be a priority. Like if you're really creating space to kind of do the things that light you up, it will give you more energy to do everything else. And I think as like a generator entrepreneur, it's so important to stay really dialed into like the aspects of your business that really do light you up and excite you and satisfy you. Just so you can like delegate the rest when it's time. And it might not be feasible for a while, but it's like just being cognizant of what those pieces are, and knowing that like when you can hand them off, it's going to free up more space for you to do what lights you up in a way that's going to like help you magnetize even more into the business.
Yeah, girl, I can't wait for that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like definitely dialing in on that. Like, I love these conversations. Like, connection is huge for me because I was so disconnected, I think, for myself and, my caregivers for protection in childhood. Like, that connection is just a big, big thing for me, which is why, like, I love this space. Like, I podcast guest as well. And so absolutely, I think, again, I get like dialed. Yeah, it's dialed closer and closer and closer to what I think is important for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just taking like constant inventory as a generator. It's like, okay, what's lighting me up and exciting me the most? Can I do more of those things? And
Mhm.
what are the things that feel really draining and depleting? And can I let any of those things go? And the answer might be like, no. So how can I balance it with like things that I really do enjoy, so that will give me more energy for the rest?
Yeah.
Um, your strategy in human design, and this will be true for all generators, is about letting things come to you. We call this responding. I
Mm.
call it magnetism.
Mm.
It basically means that you're not really designed to like sit at home and like come up with the next idea out of thin air. Like you're meant to be busy doing the things that you love and just see what shows up in your world. And when a thing shows up in your world and lights up your gut, then you go after that thing and make it happen. And so you're just like waiting for your gut to light up in response to something before you pursue it. So making sure you're like pursuing what feels good, what feels exciting in your gut, and not pursuing what you think you should.
Mm. Yes.
Do you feel like you do that, or do you feel like there's more of a pressure to like initiate and chase after?
That's been a shift for me.
Yeah.
I think that I was, first of all, the word magnetism is everything that I use. And I feel like that I've become in my life, really. It's taken healing, a lot of healing for me, but so thank you for that validation. And yeah, the new Lily absolutely is secure enough in herself, I guess, of who she is. Has done enough healing and nervous system regulation where she's okay with letting things come to her and assessing,
What's
just
right? Yeah.
assessing, what's right and what feels good, but definitely not before, like,
Yeah.
maybe as of 5 or 6 years ago. Absolutely not. I was definitely the pursuer,
Yeah.
which did lead, to a lot of like dysregulation, depression and anxiety and, eating disorder, all the things, alcohol, drugs, eating disorders, sometimes I say like, it's a miracle I'm not dead or in jail, which is true,
Mm,
So yeah, like that was definitely off for sure. Cause that's what I was taught,
yeah.
like that's how you get what you want. That's how you be happy. That's how I think that happens for a lot of women too, but yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
hmm. Beautiful, and I think that again, this is just like it's such a journey that we go on, and like we're often trying to do everything that's opposite of our design, and like it can just take time to like really return to it and trust it. And I love hearing that magnetism is such a big part of what you share now, because it is like you're
Mm,
meant to be magnetic, and the more lit up and more in enjoyment you are, the more magnetic you'll be.
mm,
um and we all have different ways of making decisions, and I know you mentioned yours, but you are what we call a sacral, or I call this a trust your gut decision maker. It
mm,
means that you are designed to make decisions based on your gut feeling in the moment. I would say as soon as you get a full bodied gut yes, like go for it. There's no need to wait. But if you're
mm,
getting anything but a full bodied gut yes, it's often not the right thing, or it's not the right time yet.
mm,
And so you're really here to kind of like trust your gut to let you know not only where to put your energy, but when to put it there.
mm,
Um, and those specific questions that you mentioned are a really useful way to help you access it. So instead of asking you like, where do you want to go for dinner? Like, what do you want to do today? I would ask you like, do you want to go here or here? Do you want to like eat this or this, do this or this? Like
mhm,
when options are presented, you'll probably have like an immediate knowing and response. Whereas when an open-ended question is asked, you might get in your head and you're like, okay, anything is possible.
mm. Oh, so much there, girl.
How do you feel
Um,
connected to your gut?
Now yeah, it's a whole thing, now I do, but I wouldn't say that I would like gut and intuition, I'm assuming would be this, is that the same?
Different in human design, but a similar thing in terms of like both ways of accessing knowing within us, but they manifest
Yeah.
a little bit differently. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think definitely disconnected from my intuition or gut for a long time.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, that happens when, like, the more that I'm tuned into myself, it absolutely happens. And I listen now, I think,
Yeah.
which is also interesting to think about. And um, yeah, there's something else there that was percolating, but I lost it. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a journey, and I think that like, and if this is your way of making decisions in human design, like I would just remind you to start playing with the small decisions of like what to eat
Hmm.
and like where to go on
Hmm.
Saturday, or like whatever it is, because like as you begin to like hone into that muscle more and more, you can like scale it up for the bigger decisions.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that earlier today, like when I was taking my dog for a walk, because I was doing a task in my business, and immediately I felt like a something. I don't know what it was. Like, I think also for me, like, I don't need to make meaning of it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so, tuned into like to my body, and that I mean, like like you're right. It's not snap your fingers and this happens, I think. But I think that I was, like I said, doing a task in my business today and immediately felt this whoosh of like I don't know what it was, but it wasn't like my normal feeling.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just stopped. Like I listened, to that and I just stopped and I was okay.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Yeah. So that's, yeah, super
Yeah.
validating.
And you're somebody who's really sensitive in your design. So there's a lot of energy you're taking in from other people, which makes you so like wise, but also can be overwhelming. And so I would just say
Mhm.
like time and space alone is so, so important as a way to just like disconnect from what's not yours and reconnect to what is.
100. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Just because like a lot of this stuff has come intuitively to me, which is amazing.
Yeah. That's the magic of human design. Again, it's like it's just giving you a language for things you've often already felt. And you're just like, oh yeah, that's why,
Yeah, that's why I
and
have
it's
to have a whole day in my week dedicated to no screens and no people.
so
Which I
good.
hold yeah, that's my day. So yeah, I hold those
So
boundaries.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I know you mentioned relationships. We all have a thing called our profile in human design. You're 4/6. And the 4 is so much around the need for community. Like all
Mm,
your opportunities are really meant to come through your friends and the people that you know. Like that even means like clients being like your friends or former colleagues or like introduce you through a friend. And so like I would never underestimate the power of your community. Like your community is your greatest and fastest resource to kind of connecting you with opportunities,
mm.
whether it's like people for the podcast or whether it's clients or whether it's dating people, whatever. Like, and I would even say in terms of, I don't know if you're in partnership. Are you in partnership?
Right now, no. I'm calling him in. He's close.
Beautiful. So I would say like the best way to kind of pursue or explore dating for you is like through community. It's like
Mm,
letting your friends know that you're open and ready, like
mhm,
letting them connect you. Like you might find that it's more natural for you to like date somebody that was a friend first than a stranger. And like regardless of who you find or who you end up dating or whichever number of people you end up dating, like I think building like a really strong foundation of friendship with them
mhm,
is so, so important, because like ideally you really want to be like friends with the people that you are dating, working with, all of it for you.
mhm. Got it. The thing that I lost. Thank you for that. The thing that
Yeah.
I lost that came back is this like human design when it comes to like dating and relationship, or maybe not even dating, but just relationship with others in general? Is it kind of like the love languages type of thing? Like, like if you and I are besties, do I need to know, Erin, your human design so that I can communicate best with you? Is it that like type of thing,
Yeah.
or is it like just a
100%.
way to communicate like from me to you, like, hey, Erin, like you say this all the time on your Instagram, which I love, like, hey, can you ask that question in maybe a yes or no format? It just makes it so much easier for me to make a decision. Like, is it that type
Totally.
of thing? Like,
Yeah, I think it's so useful to know the people around you, whether it's friends or people you're dating, because like you just like learn how to support them, like you
mm,
might be a doer like you and you might be dating somebody that's like not a doer. So instead of being like, why can't you keep going? It's like, oh, like, do you need rest? Like, do you need some space
mm,
and time alone? And like whereas specific yes, no questions are the best way to communicate with you, like other people best receive open-ended questions,
mm,
or words of affirmation or whatever. Like other people just like need utter freedom. So it's such an amazing tool in relationship to just like know how to best and support somebody, especially when they're so different than you.
mm.
Yeah.
Ew, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so useful in dating and relationship because again, it's like we get so tripped up because we're like, why aren't you like me? Or like, and it's just like, oh, because you're meant to be different, and these are all the ways that we can like support each other in our differences.
Isn't it funny when you talk about, like, for me, what sometimes when I talk about dating, it's like, oh, Lily, you should create an app, a trauma informed app. And I'm like, on dating, it just makes, and I'm sure you've had this before, but oh yeah, what if there was a human design app so you can just match with all of your, the matches that you're supposed to be with or whatever. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
Yeah. And one thing I would even say is that like I think that it's really tempting in human design or any system to be like, okay, like I only want to date this type, but
Yes.
like I just don't think it works that way. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the best way to use it is like knowing that your inner authority is your gut feeling. It's like if you feel lit up by somebody and you have a strong gut response towards somebody
Hmm.
and like that relationship is evolving, like that's a beautiful time to dig in and then be like, okay, how can we best support each other? Now that we know
Hmm.
that it feels right, like how can we do the work to like know how to best support each other in partnership?
Yeah.
So it's like once you've kind of already had that validation by yourself.
Yeah. When you pick the right person, but yeah, that's another thing. Come
100%.
to me, my
Yeah.
friends. I can help you with
Yeah.
that. But yeah. So I wanted any other kind of closing things about the chart that you see.
I mean, there's so many things. I think that like I could talk for 10 hours. I
Yeah.
think the last piece that I would share is that like You are meant to be like a real role model in your design. Like you've got the capacity to be a real teacher. And
Mhm.
part of it is like you're meant to embody your own authenticity so fully that like you being yourself inspires others to be themselves. And you're in a really interesting phase because the first 30 years of your life was meant to be a time of like massive trial and error, of just like
Mhm.
bumping into things and experimenting and like gleaning wisdom, just gleaning like experience. 30 to 50 is really a time to kind of like embody all the lessons you've learned, see things with more and more perspective, kind of just like really embody more and more wisdom.
Mhm.
And you are meant to hit your prime when you turn 50. And not because there's anything to wait for, just that it's meant to keep getting better and better and better. Like that's the time that you become this kind of like embodied example of authenticity.
Mm.
So just to kind of like know the phases that you're in.
Mm. Yes, Erin, Lily is on the come up. You
Yeah.
know that I feel it in my gut. I think, yeah, this decade is going to be the best for sure. So I appreciate it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's such a pleasure. You are amazing. I feel like, yeah, you have so much wisdom. Yeah, I agree that we could talk for hours and hours and hours. Um, where can people find you? What is going on in your world? What are you working on right now?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I share a lot of Erin Claire Jones. We also have a new account at Human Design Blueprint. If you like to dig deeper, the best place I would say to start is your blueprint, which is basically a 55 plus page digital guide to your unique design. So it's like honestly meant to be a book all about you. It's
Mm,
totally unique to you. No two are the same. And my intention is really to kind of share the information in the most practical and empowering way.
okay.
I'm happy to create a discount code for your audience if you have a word that you like to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lily would be great.
Great. So the discount code is Lily, and that's at humandesignblueprint.com. And then I also offer sessions and workshops, and that's all over at erinclairejones.com.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I really, really appreciate this time with you. You are amazing. Thank you for
Of
coming on the
course.
show.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. How interesting, right? This conversation with Erin Claire Jones. And I think we talked about this, but it definitely has been coming through my Instagram feed lately about human design. And you could hear through the brief time that we spent together about her touching into my personal human design, there is a lot of value in that. And I think it's also important to point out at this point that when we talk about things and tools in personal development and strategy, that is not always the answer. And I think we did point this out in the conversation, Erin Claire Jones and I. And she also said this too, that it's not like a blueprint that has to be followed, it's merely a guide. And what I've learned with my growth and my personal development journey is that sometimes when I am looking for something so, with so much tenacity, for an answer or to be fixed or to figure out a way to live life in a happy way. Sometimes tools like this can kind of take us out of our authenticity because, like, for example, Erin Claire Jones mentioned that I was a generator, and a generator, what that means for me could mean something different for you. I think fundamentally they're probably very similar, but just a note of, just because you have this human design style or any really style of personality type or anything like that, I think it really depends on you, on how that's expressed. And I think that is the value of working with someone like me or a therapist or a practitioner about your nervous system, because the nervous system always comes first. And this is mine. This is not Erin Claire Jones's, but this is my take on this. But the nervous system and the way that if you are in, have a lot of anxiety, then it's very hard for you to listen to yourself. It's very hard for you to take something like human design and be open maybe to different ideas or different expressions, or the way that you understand that, or the way that you even have a relationship with something like that. So I thought that was important to say, because that is probably one of my biggest pet peeves about human design, is that it's supposed to be a fix all and end all, when in reality, I think personal development is really just about a guide, but it's about really how we are reacting inside of ourselves so that we can receive information and filter out what is good for us and what is not. Like, that is authenticity at its finest. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Erin Claire Jones. She is amazing. One note before we close today: The free 1 hour Match with Your Man masterclass is open for you to grab your spot. If you are looking currently, if you're single and struggling and want the system, the date to soulmate blueprint, this is how to attract your dream partner without the drama. This is the masterclass for you. I will put the link in the show notes to sign up. Just click the link and put in your information, and your spot will be reserved. I so look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be really valuable. It is a lot of the pain that I've been through to get to this point. Thank you, my love, my friend, my fam, my podcast people, my podcast community. Thank you for being here and listening to me once a week, every Wednesday. I so appreciate you being here. I want you to know that you are important to me. You are valuable. You are enough. You are loved and you are supported. And you have everything that you need inside of you. I love y'all. See you next time.